I have a question for you. Do you believe that there are just some things that are just beyond the radical restoration of Jesus? I get it. I was a meth addict. I hated Jesus. I hated Christians, and I ran as far and as fast as I could from all of it. See, my dad was an evangelist, and I would watch him get up and preach about Jesus as a child. But at home, I would watch him physically abuse my mom. So at a young age, I decided that if God's real, he is not good, and I don't want anything to do with this Jesus guy. So at 11 years old, I began smoking, drinking. By 15, it was cocaine pills. I'm selling drugs. By the time I was 17, I became a full-out crystal meth addict. I was using every day for many years to come. And many people were praying for me. And somebody came and gave me this book called The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel, which is a great book. But what's really great is that today, Lee and I are friends. And I'm here to tell you, God writes the best stories. So somebody came, they gave me this book, and this is probably the most miraculous part of the story because I didn't cause a scene and kick him out of my house. I was just like, cool, thanks, whatever. It's like a blur. Fast forward, I'm in this room, 3:00 in the morning. I have drugs on the side table next to me. I'm reading this book about Jesus. Nobody's playing music softly and quietly in the corner, creating an atmosphere. But it's the kindness of a very loving and a very real God to meet a wounded evangelist son in a place like this. Because we begin to have this internal dialogue where I just knew he was in the room. And I remember being like, God, I want to give you my life. I want to quit all this addiction, all this darkness, all this depression and anger that I've known for so long. God, I want to, but there is no way. At this point in my journey, I'd been in addiction for over 11 years, and I couldn't recognize who I was without all this destruction. So when I said, God, I want to, but I can't, he knew I meant it. And in that moment, in a thought more powerful than words, the Holy Spirit spoke something into me that changed me for the rest of my life. Stephen, you won't do it. I'll do it. And this is Ephesians 2:8. You're saved by grace. This isn't something you can boast about. It's a work of God. He does it. But there is something that you and I can do. In John 6:29, it says, the only work the Father asks of us is to believe. And that is what I did in that moment. I took God at his word. I believed him like I believe I'm breathing air right now. And I fell to my knees and I gave my life to Jesus. I went from addiction to redemption, from meth addict to worship leader, from death to life, because God is real. It's all real. He is Lord of Lords. He is King of Kings. It's all real. But listen, this isn't where our stories end. When you give your life to Jesus, it's like a pebble in the ocean that begins to ripple out into a tsunami of grace and restoration, hitting parts of your life that you could never imagine. Because at this point in my story, I knew that God was calling me to do one of the hardest things I would ever do in my life, and that was to forgive my father. At this point in my story, my dad hadn't touched my mom for many years and had gotten help. That doesn't make what he did okay. I do not condone it. But I knew that God was calling me to still forgive him. It was unimaginable to me. But I went and I did it. It was not a magical moment. No birds landed on my shoulder. A beam of light didn't come through the window. It was just super awkward. But God had done something in that moment that was beyond what I could see. Later, my father ended up baptizing me and my wife, performing our wedding ceremony. And today, my dad has passed from cancer many years ago. And I was in the hospital room with him when he died. I was the only person in the room. And as I watched my dad struggle to take his last breath, I leaned in, and one last time I said, Dad, I forgive you and I love you. And he took his last breath. Now listen, if you don't hear anything else I say, it's this. There is nothing and no one beyond the radical restoration of Jesus.